There are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million pounds, and they're different. Huh? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country. To be fair, different countries have different tax laws, so different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies and then you step up into different things.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relaks Radio, and I'm super excited to be here because we're having a conversation on what exactly is good for the environment right now. Earlier we were talking about hydrogen, we were talking about hydrogen power and why exactly that might not necessarily be sustainable if we're using the method of blue hydrogen. All right, so that is what the question is. That is what the conversation was about. But before we actually head into the conversation right now, I want to very quickly remind you that you can in fact be a part of the show. All right, all you need to do is just text me or call me on 078-52473473. Share your thoughts, share your opinions, because I would love to hear everything that you have to say with regard to what we're going to be talking about. All right, and before we actually head into the conversation, I want to very quickly remind you that if you want to be a part of this show, if you want to let us know what your thoughts and opinions are, don't forget to go like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and actually make sure that you're always informed and you're always updated about all of these things that we're talking about. All right, now something else that you can actually do is to download our app, because that's available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, and that way you can actually make sure that you're always listening into the conversation and sharing your thoughts and opinions, and you're always updated about everything that happens in the world as well. All right, and now let's actually head into our conversation, because we're going to be talking about how there's a new proposal to actually offer urban cities the same protection as national parks, right? And this is actually in a bid to protect some of the natural environments that are present in these cities, to essentially make sure that we safeguard them for our future, that we safeguard them for people and for our environment as well. All right, so cities in England could actually be granted national park status, affording urban areas the same level of environmental protection as natural landscapes, right? And this is as part of a new review of open spaces. All right, now in my opinion, I think I genuinely think this is something good, because we know that in a lot of these places, especially if they're not protected through conventions or rights or certain rules and regulations, people tend to not really take it to heart, right? Now in Lake District, we spoke about this last week as well. In Lake District, which happens to be one of the major tourism spots, traveling spots for tourists here in the United Kingdom, we know that during the pandemic, because of pandemic walkers, people have been going there, and that environment has been completely destroyed, right? There is erosion, plant and animal populations have been lost, and that's in fact a big problem, right? So when you have the same sort of protection in these cities, and you have more cities that have the same sort of protection, what that's going to mean is that this environment is actually going to be much better, much sustainable, not just for you and I, but also for the people who not just people who will have to take care of it in the future, right? So it's not just for you and me, it's for the future, it's for our country, and it's to essentially safeguard the environment as well, right? Because we've seen how much of impact human activities have had on the environment, right? We've seen how bad things have gotten here. So that's why it's important for us to take these measures when we actually can, rather than waiting until it's too late to make that decision. All right. Now, the government is actually considering the proposed status, which would also entail management of the areas to maintain their biodiversity in response to this thing called the Global Review of Protected Landscapes. All right. Now, this was in fact an independent review that was done, that was done by a person called Glovo, obviously, because he saw how badly the environment was damaged, and he saw that, look, this is the environment we live in, but there's so much of damage that happens in this environment. So why hasn't the government actually taken any steps to protect this environment, right? So this was like one of the biggest concerns, and that's why he published this report. And after looking at this report, after reading this report, they've actually come into this decision that says, look, what we have to make this change. If not, we're actually going to destroy biodiversity, we're going to destroy beauty, and also we're going to destroy our environment, right? And that should be number one on the list, right? Now, so far, London is in fact England's only city to have been awarded what is currently, an informal designation, but officials are actually looking at officially granting it to other cities as well. Okay, now it would actually mean that conservation and other environmental concerns would have to be taken into account when assessing planning applications. All right, so it's important for us to keep that in mind as well, because to save the environment, to save the planet, we need to make sure we do what we can do best, and and make sure we take the right decisions as well, right? And a spokesperson for the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs actually said that Natural England is taking forward a review of where any new designations might be, including where there should be new national park cities, or even similar arrangements to protect nature close to where many people live. All right, so that is what the conversation is about. Now make sure you stay tuned, because we're going to head into a small break, and after that we will be back to discuss more of this. But obviously, until then, make sure that you stay tuned.
Cycling in London is not child's play. How to be a better cyclist? Listen to my show, only on Relaks Radio. I'm Kevin. Join me every Thursday, 5 p.m. Look forward to seeing you.
Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relaks Radio, and we're talking about how there's a new proposal actually to grant certain cities the national park status so that they can be protected, and we can actually make sure that in these areas where a lot of people live, the environment is also taken care of and not really left to sort of die, right? Because if anything, one thing we've noticed is that when it comes to the environment, when it comes to people sort of living in these areas, and especially areas that have a lot of greenery, that have a lot of forests, especially when people start habiting these environments, what basically happens is that it tends to get destroyed, right? So to prevent this destruction from happening, that is exactly why the government wants to give this status to cities, so that it can protect it from human activity. All right, so that is what the conversation is about. Now, if you want to share your thoughts, if you want to share your opinions, do get in touch with me and let me know what your thoughts and opinions are, because I would love to hear what you have to say. All right, and obviously something else that you can do is to download our app, because that's available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. And don't forget to go like us on Facebook either. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and even Twitter and TikTok. And obviously subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. All right. So that's how easy it is. Don't forget to, share your thoughts, share your opinions with me, because I would love to hear what you have to say. All right. And now let's actually head into our conversation. Now, before I talk about this new move to offer urban cities this national park status, I want to very quickly talk about if the world is running out of of vaccines. All right. Now, this seems to be one of the biggest concerns, because at this point in time, it genuinely just looks like the world is running out of vaccines. All right. And obviously, one thing we have to keep in mind is there are so many people in the world currently who haven't been vaccinated. All right. So to make sure that these people are vaccinated, to make sure that these people have enough doses to go about, and to make sure that the world can get vaccinated, it's important for us to keep in mind that these booster shots that they're going to give to us, not just to us, but also in the United States as well, these booster shots that they're going to give might actually be reduced, or the amount of the booster that they're giving might be reduced, because scientists all around the world are in fact trying to save enough vaccines to vaccinate the rest of the world as well. All right. Now, this seems to be the biggest issue. Now, earlier, we've spoken about vaccine inequality. We've spoken about how we have rich countries like the United States, like the United Kingdom, that have been holding up vaccines, which can actually vaccinate their populations multiple times over. And this happens to be one of the biggest problems as well, obviously, because even though you can give multiple boosters, or even though you can have your populations vaccinated multiple times over, what's going to happen is this fight against COVID-19, we're not actually going to win it as long as the whole world is vaccinated, right? So to make sure the whole world is vaccinated, we actually need to make sure that everyone gets at least 2 doses of the vaccine, or even at least 1, right? And there's no point going ahead and giving 3 doses, 4 doses if the rest of the world isn't vaccinated, right? And that is obviously the biggest concern right now. Now, scientists in Britain are actually examining whether smaller doses of COVID vaccine could be used as a part of a booster program. And this is amid hopes that the approach could also increase the supply of jabs across the world, right? Now, the use of this so-called fractional doses have in fact been proposed as this way of ensuring that precious supplies can actually immunize as many people as possible in parts of the world where there are shortages, right? And this is also, obviously then we have this concern. Now, if you're going to get a less of the dose, if the booster dose that we're going to get is actually going to be much less than what we would normally get, then would that still provide high levels of protection from the virus, right? Now, these are obvious questions that even I would have, right? Now, they're still conducting research on this. This is something that's still being trialed, and obviously, until we have enough information, we can't really go make that decision and say, look, we're now going to start giving people only half of the dose or whatnot. But this is something that is still being trialed, right? So that is why we have this question of, is the world actually running out of vaccines? What do we do, and how are we going to deal with all of that? Now, make sure you stay tuned, because we're going to head into a small break, and after that we will be back to discuss more of this. So until then, make sure you stay tuned.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday, and what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I need the money? And how much money do I need? Yeah. So that's quite important, because when you're looking at your net worth, you've got to start with saying, well, what do I want my net worth to be, so that there's a goal, and then work backwards. How do I get there? And if I can start with £50 or $50 a week, if I save that